All right, guys. So sorry about that break there. Let's continue on here. This is going to finish up our roof section. So we just finished drawing this double top plate with this hidden cutout area that goes behind the rafters. Now what we need to do is we need to draw the standard ceiling joists, which are going to actually stand up. They're not going to be laying flat. Because if they were laying flat, if our ceiling joists inside the ceiling were this way, over time they would sag, right? The weight would cause them to sag. So we want to stand them up this way so they're nice and strong. If I tried to bend this one this way, it's unlikely to bend, whereas this, it's going to bend easy. So we want to stand the rest of them up this way. To do that, we're going to put them right on top of this double top plate here as well. And they're going to come up by the distance of a 2x6. In our case, we said it was just under 3/4 of an inch, which is 11/16. I'm going to put a dot here. I'm going to put a dot on this side. Okay. And that, did I measure from the right spot? No, I didn't. That's got to be measured from the top of the plate because it's sitting on top of the plate. I was going to say it should sit above. There we go. It should sit above that because it needs to be clipped. I'll show you what I mean in a second. So, all right, so from this mark to this mark, let me do this. I'm having to do a really weird bend here with my back, so let me switch this around. Drafting shouldn't be a chore. It should be comfortable and fun and kind of artistic here. So it's a creative outlet. So now that I've got this line set up, you're not going to draw through the rafter with a straight line. So I'm going to come here and draw this line right there. But we still need to have the rest of it that's behind here. So again, every 1/8 of an inch, we're going to hold it back about a 1/2 of an inch from this end here. In fact, let's hold it back a little further than that. Let's hold it back 3/4 of an inch from where the dot is. So from 3/4 of an inch, we're going to start our dotted line. We're just going to use an 1/8 of an inch. So we'll do every other 1/8. And then same thing over here. It's so far away from me, it's hard for me to see. Okay, and then from this point down to where my board will end, what we're going to do is we're going to come up they would sit flush with the edge here. We want to come up about 3/8 of an inch. So I'm going to put one dot here, and then we're going to come over this way, doing every other 1/8, but not actually connecting the corners, okay? We don't want the corner to touch. This needs to be completely dotted in here to show that this is behind what we're currently looking at for the rafter. I'll flip my paper around so I can work on this comfortably and see it very clearly. Again, I'm going to come up from the top of the plate. I'm going to come up 3/8. That wasn't very well done. It should be in line with this other dot that's here because this is in the same line. So, and then from there we should be able to draw a dotted line every 1/8 or so down, and that's going to represent all the joists that are standing up in the ceiling. The last little part we have is our gable end studs that need to stand up in this thing. And so I like to line them up with the original studs vertically in the wall. It makes them just easier to find when you're trying to do siding and stuff like that. So we know for this window, the two outsides were original, the insides were not. So this one here is one of the originals, and we're just going to line up to it, so we don't have a lot of measuring to do. Excuse me. You'd actually see this here. We'd see it here. And then this is not going to be seen where it comes behind the rafter. So again, we're going to get into dotted lines. About every 1/8 of an inch or so. And then this would end up getting clipped this way. Okay, so it doesn't look like it's that straight to me. I must have done something funky here. That's a little better. Okay, so I shouldn't have moved my ruler. I should have done it all in one shot. So again, let me draw this one here, straight up, dotted line, and then I'm going to come over here, this one, just going to come straight up off of this. It just comes to where the bottom of the rafter is, and then some dotted lines, and then this gets clipped horizontal with a dotted line to show that that's going up behind it, but then there's part of it gets cut out and it's behind the rafter. And I can show you that in the 3D model here in a little bit. This cripple right here is our next one over to stay in alignment of our 16 on center. So I'm going to come in here for a dotted line. Coming down dotted line and then solid to the plate. Oh, we need to come all the way down to the actual double top plate. This ceiling joist is going to get cut around these pieces, which will probably go in before the ceiling joists. Okay. And then we have one more that we need to do, which will be this one right here, so we can stay on our 2-inch centers, or actually 16-inch centers, but it's going to simulate that. So I'm just using my ruler as a shield to get that really accurate. And then one more line here. Okay, so this needs to be erased in there a little better. Where? Get rid of this dot here. And then in order to finish up this roof, we need to decide how far the tails are going to come out. And so for this particular situation, we don't really need the tails of this roof to come out that far. On a typical roof, they're going to come out like 12 inches, or they're going to come out 16 inches. So for this particular situation, we're going to do 12. So we have 8/8 in an inch. 9, 10, 11, 12 is 1.5 inches. So if I put a mark at 1.5 inches here, and notice I'm coming out straight from the wall, 1.5 inches, then I need to get a vertical line going this way. And again, I'm going to eyeball this really close using parallel sight here. And then all of this extra line needs to go away. Okay, and then we need to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to come over here, 1.5 inches. Let's get this lined up nice and straight. All right, so now we have a wall section with a roof section right above it. I want to show that this all lines up and correlates. And so the one thing I really wanted to do to this that we haven't done yet is I wanted to find our center point. So I'm going to come back to the center of this stud here, which this right here is the center of the whole assembly. Line that up just right. So I'm going to put a line right here. Notice the line doesn't touch top or bottom. It's a totally separate line. And I want to put a C through it. It shows this is the center of our assembly. And then the last thing we might want to do is we might want to have some dimensions of this. You might want to actually have some numbers on here. And if you're going to dimension things, you want to do it to where the line doesn't actually touch. So I'll give you an example. I'm going to put I'll put a line here. I'll put a line here. We want to make this nice and parallel, nice and clean. And if this comes off, let's say it comes to here, I'm going to leave a 1/2 inch gap. There's going to be no touching of any of those lines, but it does touch the bottom line that it points to. Then this one's going to come over at 45 degrees or so under, and this one's going to come 45 degrees over. Okay? And the reason they do that is so it's obviously showing you the dimension of this without actually being part of the drawing. Okay, and this is not touching anything here. Now we know that's 12 inches, so if you wanted to come in here and put really neatly 12 inches, that's how that would be done. And you could do the same type of thing with measurements all over this drawing. You don't have to do that. It might make it easier for you to build. I will be coming in after the fact as we're building our plans, and I will be putting dimensions on this as the builder would have to do, because the architect may not have all the measurements. The architect or the draftsman provided us the scale and everything is sized correctly, so it's not his job to necessarily label everything because he's already given you the information accurately to where you could figure it out. Anyway, that completes our drafting project. Hopefully you got all this down without too much confusion. Oh, looks like I left out one little line up here. And so if you've got any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, good luck. I'll see you in the next video.